Thanks for rejoining us. All of you Group 1 flat form lovers will just have to turn down the TV notch for a second as we dissect this Class 3, 4 o'clock at Windsor that happened over the weekend on the Saturday. Now, let me just tell you how I had this race, okay? So, Keeble was giving £4 to Argus.
Yeah.
Argus ended up beating Keeble by a neck, who was arguably a touch keen in the early stages. But for me, out of the two, Argus, son of Rip Van Winkle, owned by Qatar, I think he could be very good. What's the take on it?
Yeah, I like the second horse, Keeble, here. I was a little bit surprised to see Mr. Gosden running this over the mile and a quarter on Sunday. I'm not sure whether he's trying to leave it a little bit unexposed for the distance the horse needs. I mean, Keeble, if you remember, if you look back through the horse's form, he couldn't have the pace to go like with Stravagante, who's a mile and a half horse, Scottish, who we know stays a mile and a half very well. Ascot. I watched that race at Newbury, and Scottish quickened away almost from it. So you know what Keeble does. It hasn't got a turn of foot, and the mile and a quarter was always going to be too short. He travels well into the race. He had just over a furlong to go past when Robert Havlin was asked in. I hope people at home don't think that the horse is in any way ingenuine. I just think that the horse was running over the wrong trip. It just cried out to me that the horse was screaming, "Look, I'm going as fast as I can." I think this horse, when it steps up to a mile and a half, I think it could be a Group 3 animal. I think, you know, it could be, you know, what we've got here for a Sunday afternoon. Argus of Mr. Beckett's, that's sure to be, you know, I think probably listed class, carry on being well handicapped. Now, if you look at the form, Argus officially went off a mark of 84. Keeble off a mark of 88 for a neck beaten. Now, the handicapper, if he takes a dim view of this race, then unfortunately Keeble is going to be treated like a winner and go up in the handicap. But even so, I've got Keeble rated 110 for this performance. This horse could possibly have well over a stone in hand when he steps up to the trip of a mile and a half, and he is a definite one to put in your notebook. And in fact, the whole form, I think even the third, the fourth and the fifth follow the form through about Argos and the horse going forward when he steps a mile and a half. This Keeble, this is seriously well handicapped, and I've noticed Mr. Gosden can do this with a lot of his horses when he knows he's got potentially well handicapped horses. He might have looked at this race and thought we'd get away with it over a mile and a quarter, but he hasn't. He's a mile and a half horse, and this is far too sharp. I mean, if you're getting outpaced over the mile and a quarter behind a horse like Scottish at Newbury, there's no chance that a mile and a quarter at Windsor is going to be adequate for you. I think he's done very well in the circumstances.
Well, it might have just confirmed what John Gosden was thinking about the horse, because I mean, throughout the previous races, he's been so well backed as well. Obviously highly regarded, but maybe they just needed to confirm that maybe what didn't quite have the toe they always thought, but is a big tank of a horse who will stay.
Yeah, you can see the way he travels through his races. I mean, he gets everything off the bridle. He's last off the bridle, but when he comes off the bridle, we don't go any quicker. Well, the other ones might quicken up some more, which is again is a very clear indicator of a horse that needs further. I mean, he had a furlong to go past Argus, and he just didn't. He was at the same pace, but mark my words, when he goes up to a mile and a half, you want to be on.
There we go. So that was the big piece of form unravelled, the 4 o'clock at Windsor. Keeble, who was beaten on the day by Argus, must go up in trip. For the value rater, it seems as though he should be rated around £15 or £20 higher, if not more than his current mark. There we go, the big one's Keeble from the weekend. Now, not just a look back on what's happened at the weekend, but a look forward to Saturday's card. Now, what a thing there is to look forward to. OK, there's only 5 runners in the field, but one of them is Derby, and one of the best Derby winners that we've had in a while, Golden Horn. Frankie Dettori will get the sit again there. Very short price. Have you got any reason to give our viewers to take him on?
Yeah, I have actually. I mean, the best price 4 to 11. When I sit down to assess form, I always do my own book really. I work out what the horses should be. 4 to 11, I personally had him in even money. So this is desperately short for me. It's going to be very interesting. I've been trying to get my head around what the tactics are going to be for this race.
Let me just ask you a question, because I mean, one of the reasons why he's 4 to 11 is not just because he's a cracking horse. The reason being that, of course, he's only got 4 competitors. Now, if there were to turn up an additional 3 or 4 and make it a 7-8 horse race on the day, would you be backing him at something like 11 to 8 on? You know, if there was a couple more Western Hymns, a couple more 14 to 1 shots lurking around, would you then be inclined to play him at around the 11 to 8 on mark, or even a 11 to 10 on mark?
No, I mean, personally, I'd never back horses under 2 to 1. I mean, that's a strict rule I take. Look, I'm not. This horse could go and win well. I've just got this nagging doubt in the back of my mind. We mentioned it a few weeks ago that this horse is the stayer of. I think he's more of a stayer than Jack Hobbs is. I think Jack Hobbs was better horse at 1.25 miles and would have been better suited to a race like this. And Golden Horn should have gone to the Irish Derby. But this is how it is. I'm just concerned that he got outpaced a little bit in that derby. Let's not forget he was keen early as well under Frankie Dettori at a good derby pace. He wouldn't want to be pulling like that in here. It just takes me back to when he beat Jack Hobbs over the extended 1.25 miles in the Dante. And of course, Jack Hobbs, don't forget, only having his second start from winning on the bridle at Sandown. He had things his own way at the back of the field off another strong pace. And I've just got this nagging feeling that in a small tactical affair, I don't know, I just think if there's going to be a time he's going to get beat, I think it's going to be this race, and I think he's going to be short. I mean, look at his Fielden Stakes form. What he beat that day, he got outpaced against Peacock. Peacock's shown itself as being a 1.5 mile horse. I've got a big problem with this 1.25 miles. He might, look, I might sit here next week. I definitely want to bat against him.
There's a reason why you can play against him. Yes, he's the highest rated horse. But there's one in pretty close behind him, isn't there? The Grey Gatsby.
Yeah, the Grey Gatsby. I mean, I'm gonna keep on saying this in this race. I think we've got a 1.25 mile race with a lot of horses that want 1.5 miles. I mean, the Grey Gatsby again. Good pace last time. He was keen in part of his race. He's finished it well. I think he was unlucky. All right, he didn't get the run until late, but he does wear those cheek pieces, and you don't know that whether that actual interference has kept the horse interested. He did look like he was a little bit unlucky. I mean, from a rating point of view, the likes of Golden Horn, I've got rated 100. The Grey Gatsby on his last performance are rated 124, so he's got, you know, if strict rating, £6 to find. I do think that the Grey Gatsby will be better at 1.5 miles. I think he showed that behind Alcazim and postponed and at the Curragh in that Group 1 when looking like he was going nowhere, and Ryan Moore sat up in the saddle and he didn't lose any more distance. He kind of been running on there, but he's a very interesting runner. I think there's better value in the race than the 7 to 2, though.
So maybe not quite his race again, but one that we have spoken about, not least because of his performance in the Queen and behind So Low in the mile Group 1 contest, is Cougar Mountain. Now, this horse really was tried over the short distances. I think it was 5 and 6 furlongs as a 2-year-old, and that was where Aidan O'Brien originally pitched him in. In your eyes, he's actually going to be better at the 10 furlongs, is he? Yeah,
and I think, you know, and probably again another horse that would get 1.5 miles. I mean, this horse is by Fastwit Rock. We keep on saying about this line. I mean, Diamonds and Rubies comes out of there. We've had an Oaks winner come out of there. So this horse clearly stays. Last time, a marked improvement for the cheek pieces on. In fact, I marked this performance up from the Lockinge form, a good £15, which is an enormous amount for the cheek pieces behind Solo. I mean, this is good Group 1 form. Beating a length and a neck, when you bear in mind that you've got 2 horses in front of him that actually weren't stopping, you've got proper milers. The fact that the horse was 6 lengths off the pace at the furlong pole and made those inroads in the closing stages tells me that even though I think the horse wants 1.25 miles, he must have a little bit of pace to be able to do that. I think he's a real interesting runner. Ignore his run at Newbury without the cheek pieces on. He was a little bit interfered when he wasn't given a hard time. But this, I don't like backing each way, particularly when you're only betting 1-2. But the 12 to 1 at the time of recording, which is on a Tuesday evening, he's a must each way bet. I really fancy him to be in the first 2. And from a rating point of view, I rated his performance last time 126, which is only £4 beneath what I've got, and that step up from the mile to the 1.25 miles. If there is some more improvement to come, he could be interesting. And is he the pace angle? Are they going to go from the front? Are they? I really don't know where the pace is going to come from. I'm sure there's going to be some. by Fastnet Rock, they will know from what's been happening recently that these horses stay very well. Cougar Mountain, for me, without a doubt, is a real serious each-way investment around the 12 to 1.
I mean, that's the top three discussed, which are probably the most interesting on the card. And the reason why I may have discounted the bottom two, not least because Tullier simply doesn't look up to the task. But Western Hymn, we've had the conversation on the show before, I do believe, that he prefers a little touch, a little cut in the ground, a little touch of softer ground. And I think you probably know well enough at home that the sun is well and truly baking every single piece of turf in Surrey, London and probably the whole of the UK at the moment. So Western Hymn won't get conditions.
No, he won't get conditions. I must say with him, look out for him when he does get his ground. I mean, let's not forget when he had his preferred ground last year, which was good to soft at Newbury, beats Snow Sky one day at Newbury when he gets his conditions. I do think under these conditions he only can perform around the 119, which is about £10 short. But I do believe when he's got those underfoot conditions in his favour, he can be a serious Group 1 contender.
OK, so the selection for the 2015 Coral Eclipse, taking into account that, yes, Golden Horn is a likely winner of the race, but reason to oppose, and you're going to oppose him in this year's Coral Eclipse with
Cougar Mountain.
Cougar Mountain, stepping up in trip to the 1 mile 2, originally campaigned as a sprinty little 6 furlong character. Cougar Mountain catches Value Rater's eyes, one that could stay 1 mile 2, possibly 1.5 miles in time. Cougar Mountain, he's taking Golden Horn on with Aidan O'Brien's there. Now, just before we go, we've talked about the 2015 Coral Eclipse. We better talk about how you can get yourself to the 2015 Coral Eclipse. Quickly flash up the competition, and you've got to tell us who won the 2014 Coral Eclipse. Was it A. Frankel, B. Mukadram, or C. Parish Hall? Now, just before we leave you, feel free to tweet at ValueRater or email value.rater@outlook.com. Text him email or tweet him with that answer, A. Frankel, B. Mukadram or C. Parish Hall, for a chance to get your hands on a pair of tickets at Sandown this weekend, this coming Saturday, the Coral Eclipse. It is the big one on the card. I'm hoping that going forward over the next few weeks, some of those that we have reviewed from the Curragh, from Newcastle and from Newmarket jump back into your racing post, turn out again and prove profitable from what Value Rater has said. But this weekend, in order to get your profit, stay away from Golden Horn, says Value Rater. Have a nibble each way on Cougar Mountain. We'll be seeing you next week, where it's all about the July meeting at Newmarket. Goodbye.